they also asked Hogan. Well, Hogan mentioned that he started Hulkamania in Minnesota, because I know that was the big talk, like back in the days. Who started? Who who helped who? Did
Well,
Hogan build up WWF, or did Vince McMahon build up Hulkamania? So they asked him that, and Hulk Hogan said that he started Hulkamania in Minnesota. Um, he talked about how he used to come out with the music, "The Eye of the Tiger" from the Rocky movie. So this was probably fresh off of the movie, the Rocky movie that he made. And I know back in the days, Vince Senior did not allow his wrestlers to actually partake in the movies or things like that. He wanted his wrestlers to focus on just that professional wrestling, because I guess he didn't want them to know that they could probably make the same amount of money, possibly even more, without taking less bumps. He didn't want them to know that. So he was like, "Oh, no, 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 stay focused on wrestling." So I mean, I found that interesting, as far as like Hogan saying that. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think
but
Hulkamania was created? I'm listening, by the way. I'm just gonna do. Go ahead.
if you work for a man, it's like having two masters.
Mhm.
You don't. If you work for a man, if I was a promoter, I wouldn't want my employees to go somewhere else. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh, I could see a point there. I mean, sure, there's more money in show business, but you should quit the wrestling and go with the show business. You can't serve two masters. That's the way I look at it.
You're right.
But I was around when Hulk Hogan. I didn't meet him, but Hulk Hogan was in Georgia. The NWA didn't know what to do with Hulk Hogan. That's the fact. You know, he was a musician. He didn't know anything about wrestling. You know, and they didn't have any ideas for him how to use them. And I think I heard this story 3 or 4 different times that somebody in the organization told him to go to New York or maybe Minnesota. But that's how he went somewhere else. They had Hulk Hogan could have started in the NWA, and I don't think he did. Not in Georgia or North Carolina for sure. And he made the right move when he went, I guess, to Minnesota. And I don't think they knew how to use them either because he went to New York. And Vince McMahon knew how to use them. Vince McMahon knew how to use them. And I think Vince made him. He made himself because he could do enough to get over. And he looked so good. And he could talk. And the guy had the proper attitude. He was not a glory hound, and all of that stuff. And I think Vince is a genius to start with. And Vince saw the biggest potential in him than anybody other promoters on the planet.
Hmm.
And it paid off. Paid off for him and paid off for Vince, I think.
I mean, I found out that I heard that they lost Hogan because of merchandising. Like they
Well,
didn't want to. He didn't want to give up the promoter. The promoter didn't want to split the profit, or get give Hogan percentage with the merchandising, I believe, and lost out on Hulkamania and something major, which just over that.
yeah,
So it's like,
well, that could be. I never heard of that, but it could be. I
mhm,
mean, you know, promoters are some of them were a little greedy, you know.
mhm,
But he earned everything he's got. I'll tell you, he knew he didn't know much about wrestling moves and all of that fancy stuff, you know, uh, but he looked solid. He did the same stuff over, just like most of the wrestlers. You all got 4 or 5 things you do real well, you know, and but yeah, I admire him. I mean, he had a great career, and he's still around, which that's good.
yeah.
And